Now we will practice two more problems, E320A and E321A. If you have your textbook, please open page number 154. If you don't have, you can print out Chapter 2's assignment file, which is a PDF file, and you can read the problem and you can follow my video to see how I solve the problem.
Okay, so predetermined rate, you should not have any problem. Calculate the predetermined rate. What is the allocation base? Read the problem and tell me what is the allocation base? Labor hour, labor cost, machine hour, I don't know. What is the allocation base for problem number 28? What again? So labor hour, right? So allocation base is our labor hour, direct labor hour or labor hour. And if you read it carefully, you can figure it out. So it says, Elkland Heating and Cooling. They installs and service commercial heating and cooling system, blah, blah, blah. Overhead is allocated. You see, this line is important. Overhead is allocated to each job based on the number of direct labor hours. That means labor hour is your allocation base, right? And you just need to do two separate jobs. That's totally fine. Now, at the beginning of the year, Elkland estimated its overhead cost. So whatever they are doing at the beginning, that means they are estimating, which is 61,500. And they are also anticipating that they're going to use 4,100 direct labor hours. Right. And that's all about your estimation. And then you will see this little table. That's your actual thing, right? First they estimated, and then they figure out the actual thing, whatever actual they did. So we'll try to use all this information. So first paragraph is actually your estimation. All these are estimated. Estimated. And this little table is actual. You see, it says that in November, they completed the job, and this is your actual. They actually used $15,000 for direct material job 1, job 1 or 2, 10,000 direct labor used. These are all actual. And you have another little information that their wage rate is how much? Wage rate. Who can tell me what is their wage rate? So they pay their labor how many dollars per hour? $24. So this is little information we need to use when you're gonna calculate your direct labor cost. So the first thing is very simple. I hope everyone tried. So E328. Try to follow me. I'm trying to go faster because we need to finish another problem so that you are well prepared for your quiz. Predetermined. But if you don't understand anything, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Overhead rate, which is total estimated manufacturing overhead cost. I'm writing every time so that you don't forget it. And total estimated amount of allocation base. And I love to write a little note here, allocation base. What is my allocation base so that I don't do any mistake? Our allocation base is direct labor hour. Now you will tell me the numbers. How can I get our predetermined manufacturing overhead rate? Damian, you want to try? Or anyone from this side? Predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. Okay, Joe, go ahead. 61,500. Because it says already there that their estimated overhead for the coming year would be 61,500. You got it? Okay, good. Now we know our allocation basis labor hour. Again, it's estimated. So what is their estimated labor hour for this month, upcoming month or year? Or what is our estimated? Yes, Courtney? 4,100. So this one is labor hour, right? So your numerator is dollar, your denominator is hour. So you cannot cancel it out. So we're gonna say $/labor hour. That means per labor hour. And your rate is how much? How much? Your rate? Quick, very quick. 15, excellent. So that means if your labor works for 1 hour, your allocated manufacturing overhead will be $15. So this part is simple. Now, second part, if you read it, calculate the overhead to be allocated to each of the 2 jobs based on direct labor hours. Now, we will calculate our manufacturing overhead allocated to those 2 jobs. So now we will use this rate, which is $15 per hour, and you know your actual labor hours. If you see the little table, direct labor hour used for job 101 is how many hours? Job 101, direct labor, how many hours you actually use? Julie? 155. And for job 102, how many hours? Your labor work? 72. So you know your actual allocation base and you know your rate. So now it's time to determine your manufacturing overhead allocation. So you're going to multiply these 2. And we will do it for our both jobs. So we know the formula. I'm writing it again so that you please write it again. Manufacturing overhead allocation equal to predetermined manufacturing overhead rate times actual amount of allocation base. And we know allocation base is labor hour, but we will do it for our 2 jobs. So what I will do, I will prepare 2 columns for 2 jobs, and this is how I can save a little bit of space. Job 102. So these are our 2 jobs, okay? So what will be our manufacturing overhead allocation to job 101? Who can tell me manufacturing overhead allocation to a job? Job 101. What is your rate? I'm just plugging the numbers to these equation, which you already know it, right? You already wrote it. Our second equation. What is our rate? Yes, Kyle? Okay, so you just tell me the answer. $15 is the rate, and you multiplied it by how many hours your labor worked for job 101. And if you multiply these 2, can you repeat it, Kyle? 2,325, am I right? Okay, great. Everyone got it. I'll just put it a little bit here. So this is our rate that you just calculated. For job 101, your labor work 155 hours. So if you multiply this is a dollar sign, $2,325 is your manufacturing overhead allocation. Now for job 102. Who can tell me? Job 102. Job 102. You know your rate. You know your actual hours. Anyone else? Anyone else, please? Anyone else? Just for the singing voice. Hey, you wanna try? Yes, Mackenzie. Listen next time you. Yes, Mackenzie, please. So you got 1,008. How do you get it? So $15 and then 72. And Jason, how much? You got it here? 1,080. Excellent. So you know this is your manufacturing overhead allocation cost. Now let's read Requirement 3. What is the total cost of job 101 and job 102? Now you need to know the total cost. The total cost has 3 components. Adam, can you remember what are the 3 components? Total cost. If I ask you what is the total cost of manufacturing this calculator, you should assume 3 types of cost. One is direct material cost, other is direct labor cost, another is manufacturing overhead. So whenever I ask you the cost of any job, cost of any product, 3 types of cost: material cost, labor cost, and overhead cost. Okay, so now is there any information about your material cost? What is your direct material cost for job 101? Direct material cost. Job 101. Someone please read it and tell me. It's 15,000. Thank you. And for job 102? Job 102, how much is your direct material cost? 10,000, Adam. Thank you. Now we need to know another cost. We know 3 types of cost: direct material cost. We now need to know direct labor cost. Direct labor cost. How can you calculate direct labor cost? So if you know how many hours your labor worked for that job, and if you know the wage rate per hour, right? So if you know the wage rate per hour, and if you know the total hours that your labor force actually worked for you. So for job 101, how many hours they worked? The same hours. Direct labor hours for job 101 is how many hours? 155. And your wage rate is how much? Can you check the table again? Just next to this table, it says your wage rate is how much? How much is your wage rate per hour? Yes, Adam? 24. So you know your wage rate, and you know for job 1 your labor worked 155 hours, for job 2 your labor worked 72 hours. So now you will just multiply these two. $24 is your per hour wage rate. For job 1 your labor actually worked 155 hours, which gives you your total labor cost is how much? 24 hours is your wage rate, and 155 hours your labor's work for this job. So total is how much? How much? Here, who can tell me? Daniel, you want to try? It's 3,720. Excellent. Daniela, can you continue, please? For the job 2, second job, job 102, wage rate is $24 per hour, and your labor worked for 72 hours, which gives you total labor cost is how much? How much? John, come on, what are you doing? Yes, please. 1,728. That's your labor cost. Now you know all these 3 costs. You know your material cost, you know your labor cost, and manufacturing overhead. You kind of allocated some overhead based on your estimation. Now if you add these 3, you will find out your total product cost for job 101. So total cost. Again, I'm repeating, total cost. Total cost always means your direct material plus direct labor plus your manufacturing overhead cost. Just within bracket, for a side note, I'm writing this for you. Now if you add this, what is your total cost for job 101? Your direct material cost is 15,000, labor cost is 3,720, your overhead allocation is 2,325. How much is your total cost for job 101? Don't just wait for me that I'll write and you will copy it from the board. Everyone please figure it out. For job 101. Yes, who has the number? And I hope you'll get the correct number. Paul, you have the answer, please. Okay, let me check with someone else. Right? You got the same thing here. Everyone got the same thing here. Hannah, Eden, you got the same numbers? Okay, good. Now, who can tell me for job 1 or 2? So I have our material cost $10,000. I'm going to add labor cost, which is 1,000, I believe 728. And we have our manufacturing overhead, which is 1080, which gives you the total cost. Total cost means 3 types of cost: your material cost, your labor cost, your overhead cost. Someone else, please tell me. Anthony, you have the number. Andrew, you have the number. Yes, please. Anthony, how much you got here for job 1 or 2? Same? Thank you very much. So you got it? Is it difficult? Why then? What do you think? Okay, so you just need to know these 2 formula, and you need to figure it out what is your allocation base. That's the critical thing, because for this one, every problem will tell you what is the allocation base. So you have to be careful. Now we will do one more problem, and you will have another homework for next class. I'll give you. Let's try to do this one very quick. It's a shorter one. E321A, the next problem. E321A, the next one. The same thing you will do, but I guess this time you have a different allocation base. So read the problem and let's see if we can do it. So everyone read it. This time you don't have any fancy table, but you just need to read it carefully to figure out all those relevant information. Requirement 1, you need to calculate the predetermined overhead rate. Requirement 2, you need to calculate the allocation. Requirement 3 is your total job cost. All these requirements are same, but this time your allocation base is labor cost. That's the only difference, right? So let's try to figure out our information here. They say that Raymond Industries uses job costing to calculate the cost, direct labor cost. You see here, direct labor cost as its manufacturing overhead allocation base. So this line is really important. It tells you what is your allocation base. And then the rest of the information you are familiar with, that your estimated overhead cost for the coming year is $371,800. They are also anticipating their estimated labor hour is 26,000, and you know their employees' wage rate is $22 per labor hour. And for this job, the cost and hours of this job consisted of 13,500 in direct material used and 180 direct labor hours. So this last sentence is your actual information. And the first part of this paragraph is your estimated. Right, so if you read the first part, it tells you everything about your estimated first part. And the last sentence tells you what is your actual cost for your direct materials and your direct labor hours. Right, now let's try to do it. You all should do it. Okay, so it's E2021A. What is my allocation base? Who can tell me my allocation base for this problem? Is it labor hour, labor cost, machine hour? Colleen, what is my allocation base? Labor cost. Very good. Direct labor cost. Very good. And first part, you all should know that. Predetermined manufacturing overhead rate is your total estimated. You may say, why professor is writing every time? And I want everyone will write it every time, the total equation. Then this is how you will know, you will remember it. Total estimated manufacturing overhead cost divided by total estimated amount of allocation base. Allocation base. Now who can tell me what is your total estimated manufacturing overhead cost? Yes, Kyle? 371, 800, and Mackenzie. Do you have any information about the denominator? That means what is our estimated labor cost? Because this denomination will tell you about your allocation base, which is labor cost. So this time we need to know the estimated labor cost. Do we know our estimated labor cost? Or any clue? How can we get it? Any clue? Anyone? You can tell anything. Any clue? The problem actually doesn't tell what is your estimated labor cost, but Julie must have some information. 13,000, what is 13,500? Let me check. 13,000, where did you get it? So you know what? 13,500 is your direct material, actual direct material cost. You know the problem, that's totally fine. The problem actually doesn't tell you what is your estimated labor cost. But you know, if I ask you labor cost, how can you calculate it? Estimated labor cost. So you need to know your estimated labor hour times your wage rate, right? How can you know your labor cost? If you have a small shop, mom and pop convenience store, and you hire 2 people to run the shop, you need to pay your labor cost. You need to know how many hours they work and what is their wage rate. Now, if you want to estimate that cost, you know your wage rate is kind of fixed, but you can estimate how many hours they're going to work for you. So you can estimate your total labor cost based on what is your estimated or anticipated labor hours times your wage rate. You got enough clue now? Yes, Paul. 26,000. And that's your labor hour, right? Estimated labor hour. But I need to know my estimated labor cost. So this is my labor hour. Now, if you multiply with your wage rate, you will get your cost, estimated labor cost. And how much is your wage rate? Yes, Hannah, how much is your wage rate? Any question, Hannah? Please tell me. Okay, good. So wage rate is how much? Again, anyone else? 20. So this is your, this is your estimated, this one is tricky, estimated labor hour. Paul, what you mentioned, it is your labor hour, but it is estimated. But remember, our base is cost, labor cost. So we're going to multiply it with our wage rate, and that is mentioned $22. Right? You pay your employees an average of $22 per hour. So if you multiply these two, you will get how much? If you just multiply these two, 26,000 multiply 22, how much you get here? 572,000. That's your estimated labor cost. Now, if you divide these two, you will get your rate, which is how much? Yes. 0.65. That means you can also express it in terms of percentage, 65% of your labor cost. So whatever will be your actual labor cost, if you take 65% or multiply by 0.65, you will get your overhead allocation. Again, our allocation base is labor cost. That's the tricky part. So you have to be careful what is your allocation base. So now we know our overhead rate. I'm repeating, this time our allocation base is labor cost. If you see that the problem doesn't tell you what will be your estimated labor cost, you need to look for estimated labor hours. If you know your estimated labor hour and you know your wage rate, then you can multiply these two and you can figure out what will be your estimated labor cost. And this is how you get your predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. Now, what is your manufacturing overhead allocation? Allocation to whatever the job number. What is the job number? To job 371. So you know this part is easy. You know the second formula. Second formula, write it again. It will take 20 seconds, but it will help you to remember. Predetermined manufacturing overhead rate times your actual allocation base. That means this time you need to know your actual labor cost. Actual allocation base. So sometimes the problem may tell you your actual labor cost. Sometimes it may tell your actual labor hours. And it may tell you your wage rate. So if it doesn't tell the actual labor cost directly, you can take the actual labor hour and you can multiply with your wage rate. This is how you can get your actual labor cost. So our predetermined overhead rate is 0.65. We know it from our previous part. But do we know our actual labor cost? Do we know our actual labor cost? Does it say anything directly? This is our actual labor cost? No, of course. But it says your actual labor hours. How much is your actual labor hours? The cost, the last sentence, the cost and hours for this job consisted of 13,500 direct materials and 180 direct labor hours. So this is your actual labor hours. This is your actual labor hour. So you know your actual labor hour, you know your wage rate. If you multiply these two, you will find your actual labor cost, which is your actual allocation base. So your labor actually worked for you 180 hours times your wage rate is $22 per hour. So this is your actual labor hour. And this is your wage rate. And if you multiply these two, you will find your actual labor cost. So how much this part only? Who can tell me 180 times 22? Yes, Paul, please. 3,960, am I right? Okay, good. So this is your actual allocation base. I'm repeating, this time our allocation base is labor cost. We don't know the actual labor cost, but we know actual labor hours. You know the wage rate. If you multiply, you will get your actual labor cost, which is your actual allocation base. And you know the rate. So your manufacturing overhead allocated to job number 371 is how much? Job 371. Yes, Joe, please.
2,574.
Excellent. Everyone, please check it. For manufacturing overhead allocation to job 371 is 2,574. The second equation we just used, but this time our allocation base is labor cost, so you have to make sure how to get the labor cost. Now the third part is very simple. All of you should know it. The total cost. Total cost. And total cost means three types of cost. Direct material cost plus direct labor cost plus your manufacturing overhead cost. And now if you read the problem, the last sentence says your direct material cost. How much is your direct material cost? If you read the last sentence, I'm sorry, I'll make it high. Number 3 is talking about total cost. So total cost means three types of cost. Direct material, direct labor, and overhead. What is your direct material cost? Yes, Jason, please. 13,500. Who can tell me what is your direct labor cost? Actual direct labor cost. We just did it for our second part. Yes, please. Excellent. So you know how do I get it? 180 hours. That's our labor actually worked and your wage rate is 22. If you multiply these two, you're gonna get 3,960. And manufacturing overhead, you calculated your allocated overhead is 2,574. And if you add all this, what is your total cost for job 371? Yes, who has the number? Alexa, you got 2034. Is that right? Can everyone check it, please? Okay.